The silver shuttle descended through Earth's atmosphere, cutting through clouds as Kim Jong-ho watched his home planet grow larger through the viewport. After 15 years on Mars, the blue and green world below seemed almost alien. He straightened his expensive suit, designed specially for his return. 30 minutes to landing, Mr. Kim, the pilot announced. Jong-ho nodded, reviewing plans for tomorrow's celebration on his tablet. Everything had to be perfect. The outdoor venue overlooking Busan Harbor would showcase Earth's natural beauty to his Mars colleagues while impressing potential investors. He'd spent nearly his entire fortune on Mars, and tomorrow's event would secure funding for his next venture. The shuttle landed smoothly at Busan Spaceport, where reporters waited behind barriers. Jong-ho stepped onto Earth's soil, immediately noticing the heavier gravity and humid air. "Mr. Kim, how does it feel to be back on Earth?" shouted a reporter. "Like visiting an old friend," Jong-ho replied with a practiced smile. "One I've missed dearly." At his hotel suite, Jong-ho met with his event coordinator, Song Min-ji. "Everything is prepared, Mr. Kim. The weather forecast looks concerning, though," Min-ji said, projecting tomorrow's weather report. A man in a neat suit appeared on screen. "This is Park Do-yeon with your evening weather. Tomorrow brings a 90% chance of heavy rain starting mid-afternoon. Those with outdoor plans should consider rescheduling." Jong-ho laughed. "Earth meteorology is still that primitive. On Mars, we predict weather patterns to the minute. Earth's atmosphere is much more complex." Min-ji began. "It's fine," Jong-ho interrupted. "We'll proceed as planned. These Earth forecasters are wrong half the time anyway." That evening, Jong-ho received another warning message from Min-ji with updated forecasts showing thunderstorms. He deleted it without responding. He'd spent too much money and called in too many favors to postpone now. Morning arrived with clear blue skies, confirming Jong-ho's dismissal of the warnings. At the venue, workers arranged seating for 300 guests beneath an open pavilion. Flowers imported from 5 continents decorated tables while chefs prepared a fusion menu representing Earth's diverse cultures. "We should set up the rain contingency," Min-ji suggested, pointing to dark clouds on the horizon. "Those clouds will pass," Jong-ho said confidently. "I studied weather patterns on 2 planets. Trust me." By noon, guests began arriving: corporate executives, government officials, and fellow scientists from the Mars program. Jong-ho greeted each personally, enjoying their impressed expressions as they took in the lavish setup and ocean view. "Quite the homecoming you've arranged," said Director Choi, whose investment fund could single-handedly finance Jong-ho's next project. "Though I heard rain might be coming." "Just rumors," Jong-ho assured him. Earth meteorologists still rely on outdated models. As Jong-ho prepared to give his presentation, he noticed more clouds gathering. His confidence wavered briefly before he pushed the doubt aside. On the stage, he spoke passionately about his vision for bringing Mars terraforming techniques to Earth's damaged ecosystems. Imagine deserts transformed into farmland, polluted areas restored to pristine condition, he said as the first raindrop hit his cheek. He paused, hoping it was merely a stray drop. Then another fell, and another. Within minutes, light rain became a downpour. Guests scrambled for cover as wind gusts knocked over displays showing Jong-ho's technology. The expensive paper programs dissolved into mush. Women in formal dresses and men in suits rushed toward the few indoor areas available, which quickly became overcrowded. Jong-ho stood frozen on stage, watching his meticulously planned event collapse. Director Choi and other key investors were already leaving, assistants holding jackets over their heads as they ran to waiting cars. Later that evening, Jong-ho sat alone in his hotel room, watching news reports about his failed event. His phone displayed multiple canceled meetings with investors. Then a weather report appeared on screen. As predicted, today's storm system brought heavy rain to the Busan area, said Park Do-yeon, the sane weatherman from yesterday. Tomorrow looks much better, with clear skies expected throughout the day. Jong-ho threw his wine glass at the screen. On Mars, this never would have happened. Weather prediction there was exact, precise, a science, not a guess. His humiliation burned hot as he remembered the pitying looks from colleagues and investors. He picked up his phone and called his lawyer. "I want to sue someone," he said. "The weatherman, Park Do-hyun, for predicting rain." His lawyer asked, confused. "No," Chun-ho replied coldly. "For being right." Lee Min-ho looked at the legal papers on his desk and shook his head. His old classmate Kim Chun-ho sat across from him, arms crossed and face set in a stubborn expression. "You want to sue a weatherman for accurately predicting rain?" Min-ho asked. "Not for being right," Chun-ho insisted. "For negligence. He knew how important my event was. It was all over the news. He should have been more certain before making such a definite forecast." Min-ho sighed. "Weather prediction isn't an exact science on Earth." "It should be," Chun-ho replied. "On Mars, we can predict weather patterns to the minute. Earth technology is backward, and people like Park Do-hyun are hiding behind that excuse." Min-ho had known Chun-ho since university. Back then, Chun-ho had been brilliant but reasonable. 15 years on Mars had changed him. Still, Min-ho's law firm needed clients, and Chun-ho was offering a substantial fee. "I'll file the paperwork," Min-ho said finally, "but don't expect much." 3 days later, news of the lawsuit exploded across media channels. "Eccentric Mars engineer sues weatherman for rain," read the headlines. Talk shows debated the case, and memes flooded social networks. Most people found it ridiculous, but some defended Chun-ho, arguing that weather forecasting needed higher standards. In his small apartment, Park Do-hyun watched the coverage with growing anxiety. He had spent 20 years building his reputation as a meteorologist. Now, overnight, he had become famous for all the wrong reasons. "They're making me look like a joke," he told his wife Sujin as she brought him tea. "It will pass," she assured him. "Everyone knows you can't be sued for predicting weather." But the next morning, Do-hyun received official notice that the court had accepted the case. The station manager called him into her office. "This is bad publicity," she said. "Until this resolves, we're moving you to the overnight shift." "But I've had the evening forecast for 12 years, Do-hyun protested. "I'm sorry. We need to distance the station from this controversy." At the courthouse for the preliminary hearing, Do-hyun had to push through reporters and curious onlookers. Inside, he sat quietly while Lee Min-ho presented their case. "My client invested millions in an event based on reasonable expectations that meteorological predictions would be made responsibly," Min-ho argued, sounding more convinced than he felt. Mr. Park's forecast was delivered with 90% certainty, a number that implies scientific precision. The judge, an older woman with skeptical eyes, turned to Do-hyun's attorney. "Your response?" "Weather forecasting is not a guarantee," said Han Ju-woo, Do-hyun's lawyer. "It's a scientific prediction based on available data." Mr. Park followed all professional standards and protocols. To everyone's surprise, the judge allowed the case to proceed to trial. "The court finds sufficient grounds to examine whether meteorological predictions carry professional liability," she announced. Outside the courthouse, reporters surrounded both men. "Mr. Kim, do you really think you can win this case?" asked one. Chun-ho smiled confidently. "This isn't about winning. It's about accountability. Earth needs better standards." When asked for comment, Do-hyun simply said, "I stand by my forecast." It did rain. That evening, Min-ho visited Chun-ho at his hotel suite. "The media attention is good for raising awareness about your projects," Min-ho said, "but this case has virtually no chance of success." "I don't care," Chun-ho replied, looking out at the city lights. "Someone needs to challenge the status quo. On Mars, we've created perfect systems. Earth is still accepting mediocrity." Meanwhile, in a small cafe, Do-hyun met with other meteorologists who had come to offer support. "Everyone in the scientific community is behind you," said his colleague Yuna. Kim Chun-ho doesn't understand Earth's atmospheric complexities. Maybe he's right, though, Do-yeon said quietly. Maybe we should be better. The next day, a courier delivered a box to Do-yeon's home. Inside was an expensive rain gauge with a note. Perhaps this will help improve your predictions. Kim Chun-ho. Do-yeon placed the gauge on his table and stared at it for a long time. Then he called his lawyer. I want to countersue for harassment and damage to my professional reputation, he said. As news of the countersuit spread, public opinion began to shift. People who had laughed at the case now saw it as a battle between scientific integrity and technological arrogance. Both men were now locked in a legal fight neither had truly wanted, but neither would back down. The weatherman and the Mars engineer were about to make legal history, for better or worse. Kim Chun-ho sat in his temporary office, surrounded by stacks of papers and 3 large screens displaying weather data. What had started as research for his lawsuit against Park Do-yeon had become something more. For 2 weeks, he had barely slept, digging deeper into Earth's weather forecasting systems. This can't be right, he muttered, comparing satellite images with ground station reports. He checked the data again and frowned. There was a 20-minute delay between satellite readings and when forecasters received the information. On Mars, such a delay would be unthinkable. Juno called his assistant, "Get me everything on Korea's weather monitoring budget for the past 10 years. The documents arrived that afternoon, revealing a pattern of steady cuts. Weather stations that once covered the country thoroughly now had significant gaps. Many monitoring stations operated with outdated equipment or insufficient staff. That night, Juno created a map marking every weather station in Korea. He compared it to a similar map from 15 years ago, before he left for Mars. The difference was shocking. Nearly 30% fewer stations. No wonder they can't predict accurately, he said to himself. They're working blind. The next morning, Chun-ho visited a rural weather station. The building looked worn, with peeling paint and rusty equipment. Inside, 2 tired employees monitored screens showing radar images. How often is this equipment updated? Chun-ho asked. Updated. The older employee laughed. We've been requesting new radar for 5 years. This model is from before you went to Mars, Mr. Kim. Chun-ho examined the aging radar system. On Mars, equipment was replaced the moment better technology became available. Here, they were using machines that belonged in museums. Meanwhile, across the city, Park Do-yeon sat in a coffee shop, hiding behind dark glasses. Since the lawsuit began, he could barely go anywhere without being recognized. Some people asked for selfies, treating him like a celebrity. Others confronted him about forecast mistakes from years ago. Aren't you the weatherman being sued? The barista asked as he ordered. Do-yeon nodded, hoping to avoid conversation. My brother says you guys just guess anyway, she continued. Is that true? No, Do-yeon said quietly. We use science and data. Then why are you being sued? He had no simple answer. Leaving his coffee untouched, Do-yeon walked to the park and sat alone on a bench. For 20 years, he had dedicated his life to meteorology. Now he wondered if it had been worth it. His phone rang. It was his boss. The station wants you to take a leave of absence until the lawsuit ends, she said. They're concerned about viewer trust. After hanging up, Do-yeon stared at the clouds gathering above. Rain would come by evening. He could tell from the cloud formations and humidity. But without his job, who would care what he predicted? That evening, Chun-ho's lawyer visited his office, surprised to find him surrounded by weather maps and technical manuals. I thought we were preparing for court, not a science project, Lee Min-ho said. Look at this, Chun-ho pointed to his screens. Korea's weather monitoring system has critical gaps. Their data collection is fragmented and delayed. This could actually help our case, Min-ho said. We can argue Park was negligent for not accounting for these limitations. No, Chun-ho shook his head. That's not the point anymore. He showed Min-ho a comparison between Mars weather prediction systems and Earth's. On Mars, we have sensors every 5 kilometers, constant atmospheric sampling, and real-time data processing. Here, they're trying to predict complex weather patterns with incomplete information. So you want to drop the case? Minho asked, confused. Not yet, Junho replied. I need to understand more. The next day, Shunho tracked down Park Do-yeon. He found him sitting alone in the meteorological library, reviewing old weather journals. Mr. Park, Junho said, approaching cautiously. Park looked up, surprised. Are we allowed to talk? Our lawyers might object. I don't care about lawyers right now, Junho said. I need to understand something. How do you make accurate predictions with such incomplete data? Park hesitated, then gestured to the chair across from him. It's not just about data. Earth's weather is a complex system that requires both science and experience. But with better equipment. Of course, better equipment would help, Park interrupted. We've been requesting it for years, but funding always goes elsewhere. For the first time, Shunho saw not an opponent but a fellow scientist struggling against limitations. The lawsuit suddenly seemed small compared to the real problem. As they talked, rain began to fall outside. Neither man noticed, too engaged in their conversation about weather patterns, prediction models, and the challenges of Earth's atmospheric complexity. You predicted this rain too, didn't you? Shunho asked. Park nodded. Some things you just know, after watching the sky for 20 years. Shunho looked out at the falling rain. His anger was fading, replaced by a new kind of understanding, and perhaps the beginning of respect. Kim Shunho hadn't left his workspace in 3 days. Empty coffee cups littered his desk, while 3 large monitors displayed complex weather simulations. The lawsuit against Park Do-yeon was scheduled to begin in 4 days, but Shunho had barely spoken with his lawyer all week. Instead, he had been obsessed with adapting Mars weather prediction algorithms to work with Earth's atmospheric conditions. It shouldn't be this difficult, he muttered, adjusting parameters for the 5th time that night. On Mars, similar systems predicted weather patterns with near-perfect accuracy, but Earth's atmosphere was vastly more complex, with oceans, varying terrain, and countless other variables Mars simply didn't have. His phone rang. It was Lee Minho, his increasingly frustrated lawyer. The trial starts Monday, and you've missed 3 prep meetings, Minho said. Are you still committed to this lawsuit? I need more time, Junho replied, barely listening as he spotted a new pattern in his data. More time. The court won't grant another delay. What are you even doing? I'll call you back, Junho said, hanging up as he rushed to make adjustments to his program. For hours, he worked, combining Earth's limited monitoring data with predictive algorithms designed for Mars. Finally, at 3 a.m., his prototype system completed its first full simulation of Korean weather patterns. The results looked promising, matching recent weather events with surprising accuracy. Exhausted but excited, Shunho set the system to monitor current conditions before finally falling asleep on the office couch. He woke to loud beeping. On his center screen, a warning flashed. His prototype had detected a rapidly forming low-pressure system off the southern coast. According to the simulation, it would intensify quickly into a dangerous storm within 24 hours, far sooner than traditional forecasts suggested. Junho checked official weather reports. They predicted only moderate rain for the southern regions, with the storm expected to strengthen much later. They don't see it coming, he realized. He hesitated, unsure what to do. His system was untested, experimental. What if it was wrong? But what if it was right, and people were in danger? After pacing for several minutes, Shunho made a decision. He found Park Do-yeon's personal number in the legal documents and called him. Park answered cautiously. Mr. Kim, our lawyers said we shouldn't speak directly. Forget the lawyers, Junho said. I need your professional opinion on something urgent. I'm not working at the station currently because of your lawsuit, Park reminded him. Just look at what I'm sending you, Junho said, transmitting his data. I've developed a new prediction model. It shows a dangerous storm forming right now that will hit the southern coast tomorrow evening. Your colleagues aren't forecasting this yet." There was a long pause as Park reviewed the information. "Where did you get this modeling system?" Park finally asked. "It's unlike anything I've seen." "I built it," Junho explained. "It adapts Mars weather prediction technology to Earth conditions. Is it showing something that could be real?" "The pattern is certainly concerning," Park admitted, "but without more validation." "I don't have time for validation," Junho interrupted. "People could be in danger. Will you help me verify this?" After a moment's consideration, Park agreed. "I'll need to see your raw data and methodology." 2 hours later, they met at Junho's office. Professional caution quickly gave way to scientific curiosity as Park examined the prototype system. "You've integrated our limited monitoring data with predictive algorithms," Park observed. "Clever approach." Together, they refined the model, with Park contributing his expertise on Earth's weather patterns. By evening, both men were convinced the threat was real, a rapidly intensifying storm that would strike with little warning. "We need to alert the authorities," Park said, "but they may not take this seriously coming from us." "Why not?" Junho asked. "A weatherman currently on leave, and the man suing him. Not the most credible source." They called Park's former colleague at the Weather Service. After initial skepticism, she agreed to review their data. Hours later, emergency alerts were issued for coastal areas. The storm, now classified as approaching typhoon strength, had been detected by official systems, though hours after Junho's prototype had first identified it. As evacuation orders went out, Junho watched news coverage from his office window. "Your prototype just saved lives," Park said, standing beside him. "Our work," Junho corrected. "I had the technology, but you knew how to apply it to Earth conditions." They stood in silence, watching rain begin to fall. The lawsuit now seemed trivial compared to what they had accomplished together. "I'll tell my lawyer to withdraw the case," Junho said finally. "And I'll call mine," Park agreed. "But what about your prototype? It's too valuable to abandon." Junho looked at the system they had refined together. "Maybe there's something more important than a lawsuit here." As the storm intensified offshore, two former opponents began planning a collaboration that neither had imagined possible just days earlier. Retrieved 6 months after the lawsuit that had made headlines across Korea, Kim Junho and Park Do-yeon stood together on a stage at Seoul National University. Behind them, a large screen displayed their new weather prediction system, the Earth-Mars Atmospheric Prediction Network, or EMAP. From adversaries to partners, whispered a journalist in the front row, snapping photos of the two men who once faced each other in court but now stood as colleagues. The audience included government officials, university researchers, and even some of the investors who had attended Junho's ill-fated homecoming party. In the months since withdrawing their legal claims, the two scientists had worked tirelessly to perfect their hybrid forecasting system. "The path to EMAP began with a misunderstanding," Junho said, addressing the crowd. "I expected Earth's weather prediction to match Mars standards without realizing the vastly different challenges." Park stepped forward. "And I had become too comfortable with the limitations of our current systems, not seeing how they could be improved." Their partnership had not been easy at first. Junho's Mars experience made him impatient with Earth's bureaucracy, while Park sometimes found Junho's approaches too theoretical. But their complementary skills proved powerful. Junho contributed cutting-edge algorithms and system architecture from Mars, while Park provided invaluable knowledge of Earth's complex weather patterns. Today, we're proud to announce that the Korean Meteorological Administration has adopted EMAP as its primary forecasting tool, Park continued. Early results show a 40% improvement in prediction accuracy. On the screen behind them, a demonstration